Okay, so now this is the last session for this history optional boot camp, and I believe that so far whatever we have done that was quite useful for you. Of course, it is more about practicing more, reading more, and understanding the things more. But yet, I can I believe that whatsoever guidelines or whatsoever analysis that we have been doing in past few classes or few sessions, these were quite useful to you, right? Okay, fine. Coming to the point of today's point, today is basically the last day. This is day 5, and here we are supposed to discuss about one session, important topic, and that is about the map section, right? And in fact, the title that I have put here, is it like really difficult? Why it is considered I must tell you a few things for the mapping area. That when it comes to the mapping area, there was one point of time history used to be very popular optional due to this map section. This is of 50 marks, and frankly speaking, out of 50, people always had the possibility to score somewhere around 40, 42, 40, 3, and even beyond that, right? So 45, I have seen couple of people, they have even corrected all the sites, and that's how they must have got more than or somewhere around 45. So since people were scoring very good in the map section, and that's the reason because of what they had been selecting history as an optional paper. But then further somehow the map was met bit let's say twisted. And this is the reason because of what somehow this rumor became very popular, that now the map does not remain this much lucrative the way it used to be earlier. And that's how people have started losing their trust in this particular area or this particular optional paper. And that's how they have started dropping this idea. Okay, fine. But then frankly speaking, when it comes to the map area, the way you guys see, probably it is not that much difficult. I believe that as far as this map area is concerned, I believe that at least 4 questions can be definitely done in the 40 marks can be literally obtained in this map area. Probably, only once you are following a particular trend for the map area, or you are following a particular method or approach to the map section. And if you have been following a particular approach to the map section, in that case, as I told you, that you have to do it smartly. In that case, definitely you can score good marks in paper, in this map section, right? And if you have been, just imagine that if you have been scoring around 40, or let's say somewhere closer to 40, what kind of push it can give to your marks, that is quite obvious to understand. Let's say if not 40, even 35, which is practically very much possible to score somewhere around 35 to 40. In that case, you just assume ki you are getting somewhere around 70% marks or 80% marks in this area only. And if you have been getting 80% mark in one question, and then if you have been getting let's say 60% marks in the other area, so it's quite easy to score somewhere around 160, 165. And earlier couple of my students have crossed 160, and in fact Iswar Kandu crossed 165 also in paper 1. It was all because of the right approach towards the map section. And in fact in this particular lecture precisely I would like to discuss about that how this particular area or the map section should be prepared pretty well. What are the approaches that you should follow, that somehow you can perform better, and you can feel more convenience, right, in this map area. That's how this is what we are going to precisely discuss in this section, right? So let's start about this. First of all, what kind of questions are coming. I believe that most of you, those who have come for this session, you all must be knowing what is the what is this map question. Yet I believe at least there is some information I would like to provide on this, or some insight I would like to get you on this. So what is this question? So basically there's a map which has been provided to you, and along with the map there are these kind of description of the sites used to be there, such as the prehistoric sites, the area of petroglyphs, right, the Neolithic sites, the Harappan sites, the Buddhist monastery, and so on. So basically they have been providing these kind of sites, and then along with those numbers, these numbers are marked somewhere in the map. Now this is the map which is being provided, and in fact one positive thing what UPSC has done in last couple of years, initially they had been switching from a map which was not having any indication on it, but then from there they have come. And in fact at that point of time when they were not providing the political map, and in fact not even the geographical map, because it used to be quite plain, and then it was a bit difficult because it consumed your time also. Why? Because you needed to draw certain lines, or you needed to connect certain points, and by putting or by drawing these kind of lines, Now it was like becoming a bit easier for you to identify those sites, right? But then since now they have started providing the political map, and then things have become easy. So this is one good thing UPSC has done in last few years. So basically in this political map, all these sites are being provided, and in this, you have to identify the name of those sites, and you need to write the description of those sites in just 30 words, right? That is what the map question is, right? So basically what happens, why this perception is appearing, that over the period it is becoming difficult, right? So let me tell you that why this kind of perception is there, and in fact then I'll come to the solution of this, right? So basically when it comes to the map question, okay, so when it comes to the map question, the reason because of what it is considered to be difficult is very simple. That earlier if you'll see the description of those sites, like let's say these are the questions of 2025. Now this is one document which is a sort of analysis on the map area, and in fact you can download this document from our website. It is available in the free resources. So now if you'll see this particular site, so the description of sites used to be quite simple. That is one area where I believe that students must be getting confused, that earlier what sort of description is there. It used to be very simple: Neolithic sites, Harappan sites, megalithic sites, a painted graveware site or PGW site, inscriptional site, important ancient city, ancient capital, and so on, right? So the description used to be very simple in the in a few years back, and this is the question from 2015. But the moment you go towards the end, sorry, towards the recent times, in that case there are a couple of changes that can be noted. This is 23, and then it comes to 24. Now look at the description of the sites in 2024. Now there are certain sites, they remain quite simple, they have been asking in the same way, but then there are certain sites which are twisted, such as look at the number of sites. So one of the Mahajanpada's capital and associated with Buddha's miracle. Right. So basically, these kind of complicated description they have started providing, or such as the hominid fossil find sites, or else temple site where three style of temple architecture are found, and like Shiva temples named after family relationship, right? So this is how, as compared to 2015, 16, or 17, now the sites which are being asked to you, the descriptions are bit twisted. And somehow this is something which is creating problem for the students, and the students are believing now this is not that cup of tea which can be easily answered. But then I guess it is a sort of misnomer, it is a sort of misconception among the students. Let me tell you why. First of all, if you'll see the number of sites, like from where exactly the sites are being asked, that's very important. And for that I would like to use the description, and in this particular analysis I have used everything. Let's see. So basically if you go for the breaking the sites, in that case you can find that there are certain topics, right? There are certain topics from where the questions are being asked, such as the Neolithic and the Chalcolithic sites. So if you'll see 2015 to 2024, in that case you'll find that at least more or less two sites, or at one point of time earlier, somehow more number of sites were being asked from the Neolithic and Chalcolithic. Now also the sites are being asked, at least two or three sites are yet coming, and in fact 2-3 sites are too much, right? So this is a distribution of the questions from the Neolithic, Chalcolithic. If you'll go to the Harappan sites, frankly speaking, that number has gone down in last few years, and they have come out of the Harappan sites, because earlier at 1 year, in 2016, they have asked how many sites, 5 sites they did ask from this particular part, and then they have reduced the number. In last 5 years, they have been asking just one site from this part. That's when it comes to the Harappan sites, it becomes a bit easier. Okay, fine. Then it comes to the megalithic sites. So both you can find ups and downs and up, right? So earlier, in 2016, there were 2 questions. Then for a couple of years, they didn't ask the question. Again, they have started asking the question from this part. In fact, while doing this particular topic, I did tell you, while doing the ancient, I categorically told you that megalithic over the period is gaining more and more important, and that's why when it comes to megalithic, now you should see megalithic seriously, and you have to go for some more deeper study of the megalithic sites. Fine. So that is for the megalithic sites. Then it comes to Buddhist, Jain, and the rock cut sites specifically related to Buddhism. Again, you can find that questions are there. Like couple of years, they have increased the number. In 2021, they asked 4 sites from this part, but 2-3 sites are like 2-3 sites are consecutively being asked from this site from this particular topic. Then it comes to the ancient capital and political centers. Now, earlier that number was too high. It is gradually getting down, and it has come to slightly low, because it's easy to identify those capital sites. And why it is easy? Because yet in the present time also, you'll find that these sites are yes surviving with a different name, but then they are there, and that's how it was bit easier. But then numbers have gone down. Okay, from the inscriptional side, this is one area which has become important. And in fact, last few years, you'll find that the trend was going up. Though, for 3 years, there was just only one side was being asked, but yet it is going up, upward. Okay. Then it comes to the trade center and the ports. So you can find that again, there was perpetually this number retain same or remain same, but 1 year in 2003, 2023, they asked how many questions? 3 sites they have asked from this. Temple sites, they are important. And in fact, they are very frequently being asked in the centers, and there was a sort of pattern that can be noticed. Okay, fine. So frankly speaking, if we'll talk about the sites now, these are the sites. You can divide them into couple of categories. But then you'll be saying that just now we had been showing certain sites, the description had been given in a very twisted manner. Frankly speaking, this is a misnomer. When you cover the sites, you are not supposed to do anything except covering the sites in a more extensive way. Let's see. There are certain sites which are being provided to you. If you'll see these sites, they are not very unique sites as such, right? They are the same old sites, but then they have been asked in a different way. Let's say if you'll see the description. So the temple site where the 3 style of temple architecture are found. So basically, when you see that these kind of questions are being asked, how to cope up with these things. That's a very simple interpretation for it. Now, whenever you see that the sites are being asked, these kind of sites are being asked, or these kind of descriptions are being asked, at that point of time, what you are supposed to do, that when you have been covering the information of the sites, at that point of time, don't go for only some basic details of those sites. Rather, what you are supposed to do, a single site should be covered by you in multiple ways. एक single site है, उसके 3-4 तरीके के description हो सकते हैं. Those description which might be the features, the features can be itself made as the description of the site, and it can be asked. It's as simple as that. So basically, whatsoever places here, say you see one of the Mahajanpada's capital and associated with the Buddha's miracle. Now, undoubtedly, this site you have studied as a Mahajanpada capital. Just you need to know about the another feature or the description of that particular site. So whatever the site you have been you have been picking up. Look, you might ask this question: ki sometimes what happened? There are some certain sites they are asked in a very they are very rare sites are being asked. Yes, this does happen. I won't refuse it. But then again, I told you that when it comes to attempting the questions in the map area, if you believe that you are going to attempt all the 20 questions, that practically is not possible. And that's how you should always target that 15 to 17 sites if you have been doing correctly. I think your job is done. So that's why if there are certain rare sites are being asked, though there are there is a way through which you can even attempt those rare sites also. But first of all, let us talk about the sites which are very general. So what happens, as I told you, that when it comes to the description, there are very unique sort of descriptions are being asked or they are being given. In that case, it becomes very tough for you to identify those sites, and then you get problem. Yeah, how to do these kind of sites. Understand the point. They are not different sites. They are not the unique sites. They are description had been given in a unique way, and the way you have been covering those sites, while covering those sites, if you go for certain other features which can be used by you, for writing the description. Let's say you are you have been asked about a Buddhist site, a capital site in the Mahajanpada period. Now, while covering this, you can go for a normal description. But then if you have been covering certain specific feature of that particular site, in that case, either you can find it in terms of description, or else you can include those information in your description. And that's how you'll be hunting the, you'll be hunting basically multiple aspects of that topic. So that is one thing, one suggestion that I'll be giving, that is how, you need to prepare. Now, coming to the second thing. Now, the second problem in the map area is that sometimes you'll find that very rare sites are being asked, right? So basically, how come these rare sites are being asked? And in fact, mostly the students are facing problem in those kind of sites. So what happens, whenever it comes to certain institutions in India, at those institutions who are mainly, related to the archaeological surveys. So here you can talk about ASI, Archaeological Survey of India. There you can talk about basically the BHU Banaras, like Hindu University, because its archaeological department is also very active. Most importantly, the Deccan College of Pune. Now, whenever it comes to the ASI, sorry, archaeological surveys or the archaeological excavations, now Deccan College is one institution which is very prominently doing it, and in fact, most of the important archaeologists have been trained over there. So either you say Basant Sinde or you say Sanjay Manchul, and all these Dr. Sanjay Manchul and all these people, like they had been trained basically in these places, and that's how whenever these new archaeological excavations are going on or they are taking place, what happens in some of the official documents being published by Deccan College of Pune, they actually write the description of those sites in their website of the official website. So if you develop this habit of seeing some such sites and then finding them in the map, and probably you find everything over there only. आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, आपको एग्जाम लिखने के समय या जब भी आपको वक्त मिलता है आप खोल के थोड़ा देख लीजिए साइट, और आप देखते हैं कि कुछ नए साइट्स का उन्होंने डिस्क्रिप्शन दिया हुआ है. यू आर नॉट सपोज टू हंट इट एनीवेयर एल्स, राइट? यू जस्ट टेक द डिटेलिंग और द डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ द साइट also from there, and in fact locate them in your map, and that's how you are going to do it. So it's very simple. So even among the new sites, it is quite possible for you to cover few of the sites just by following this particular trend, and that's why don't complicate it. Follow the right approach, it can be done easily. So let's say 13, 14 or 15 sites are as such, which are very general, and in fact from the description itself you can figure it out they are the general topic. And then out of those 5-6 tough topics, if you are capable of answering them at least 2 or 3, so that's how you have been taking the lead of 5 to 7 marks, and that is I think fair enough, right? So basically when it comes to the description of sites, the preparing the new sites, I think that is the best way of covering it. I have already told you that what are the organizations that you should keep a track on or you should follow, correct? Now moving to the third important dimension of it. And the third is basically the location of the sites, right? Sometimes you believe that there are two complications what I have noticed mostly with the students, and I would like to discuss about both. Sometimes you believe that the sites that you have prepared, and in fact now people have become very particular about it, and that's why they have been trying to they have been trying Google Map also to locate the site, and that is a good attitude of the students that they have been doing it, because if you have been trying to locate the sites through the Google Map. In fact, I have also done the same thing, because whenever I had been doing it with the help of a pencil, and I was locating it as per some of the rough calculations, the sites were never being located in the exact point, and that's how it had been creating problem, and that's how I changed my map material, and then I have used now the Google Map. I'll come I'll discuss about that as well later on. But then what I'm trying to suggest you, that since you do it, you go for such kind of practices, and then what do you complain that let's say this site has been given here over here, the site, that there is a site, but it is bit closer to this site, it is not the exact site, and sometimes people start believing okay, this is not the same site, it is an another site that has been asked. लोगों को लगता है कि it is not the same site, it is an another site which has been asked, and that's why you do not know the sites. Frankly speaking, I have done it very carefully, and what I have realized कि actually while pointing out these sites, UPSC is also not very scientific and they're not very particular, and that's how what are they doing? Now they are sometimes pointing the sites in a wrong way. So the wrong way, it doesn't mean that they were having great difference as such, but then it is not exactly at the same point what you have prepared or which is correct. I won't say what you have prepared, rather I'll say what is correct. But then they haven't located the site in this way. In that case, what you are supposed to do, you should, without any hesitation, write the name of that particular site, what you believe that which is pretty close to it, and write the description of that site. And I trust me, you'll be getting the marks. That is also that is one problem. What is the another problem? Sometimes in a close proximity, there are a couple of sites. Let's say when you go to this particular part, right? So since there were so many important sites are there in the Mirzapur, Pratapgarh and Allahabad, right? In the same way, when it comes to this part, here also you find the location of good number of Chalcolithic sites. So that is a bit confusing. When you go to this particular part, here also you'll find so many Neolithic and then megalithic sites. That is also a bit confusing. So there are 3-4 patches where you can find that the sites are located in a very close proximity. And then when these kind of sites are coming, you believe that which one you are supposed to write. Probably what you have been writing, that is wrong, and the next one is right. Don't get confused. As I told you that UPSC itself is not marking the sites in a very particular way, and that's the reason because of what you should not bother it out. So what is the solution for that? like you write the name of, let's say you know the three sites here which are located in a close proximity of 100 kilometers also. Write the name of like all the three sites, and then you write the description of any one of them, provided the features are similar. If the features are not similar, in that case probably it would be wrong, right? तो वो देख लीजिएगा कि उनके features एक है, मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि you know couple of sites over there but one is Neolithic, one is like megalithic, sorry, Mesolithic, one is let's say Paleolithic, and then like you have been writing the description of a Paleolithic sites. That won't work. If all the three sites have been falling in the category of like in the category of Neolithic, in that case like feel free to go for this kind of like this pattern, and trust me, you are like definitely going to have the mark. Okay, fine. So when it comes to like the problem what you have been facing here, I have provided the solution for that, right? Now come to the next part. When it comes to writing the description, now this is one part which is very problematic for the like students. Why? Let me tell you. First of all, you believe that you focus a lot on which like which thing, identifying sites. I have met at least like thousands of students in last 12-13 years, and I have realized that they invest majority of their energy in identifying sites. ठीक है, yeah, ये site मैंने correctly identify कर लिया, but then there are very few who even work on writing the description of the site. When you have been writing the description of the sites, like only half mark is there in order like for identifying the sites, and rest 2 marks are there for writing the right description of the site. So just by identifying the site, if you believe that you are going to get good mark, like what is my attitude like in the map section, that let's say you have been identifying 14 or 15 sites correctly, fair enough. But then what you need to focus upon, ki by identifying those sites, write the description in such a way that at least you are getting full marks. And of course, people are getting full marks here. Like that I can tell you. So if there is a possibility of getting full marks, in that case, why not to focus more on writing the description? Now, what are the things which should be written in a description, which makes it like more probable to get the full marks or the complete mark? So you can't write only the features. If you believe that just by writing the feature you can do it, or you can get 2.5 marks, that is incorrect. Rather, like you should focus on couple of information. First thing, like where exactly it is located. If you are able to recall the name of the modern day district, that is a good thing, because like that's quite helpful. That's first thing. Moving to the second thing, right? In the second thing, I'll say that if you remember any river which is passing by, that is the important thing. Third thing, the third thing is about the archaeologist, right? So at least, of course, I understand it is almost impossible to remember the archaeologists of all the sites, but at least you can write the name of those popular archaeologists. And frankly speaking, like if you recall the name of 10 archaeologists, like frankly speaking, 10 prominent archaeologists in India have have discovered most of the important sites. बहुत ज़्यादा exceed करेंगे तो archaeologists कितने होंगे? 10 से 15 के बीच में होंगे. So if you recall the name of 10 to 15 archaeologists, like and in fact you can find them region wise also. Let's say if it comes to the most of the excavations of the Chalcolithic sites, like Basant Sinde is one archaeologist who had like majorly worked on the Chalcolithic site. When it comes to like the Harappan sites, of course some old scholars, and then like R.S. Bist and some other like recent scholars, they have like mostly worked on this site. So frankly, you should not bother a lot, because most of the archaeologists like most of the archaeologists have identified a particular area, and they're mostly working on that. Because if somebody got specialized in the Chalcolithic, in that case he or she will always prefer to work in the Chalcolithic sites. If somebody got specialized in the Harappan sites, right, or let's say Copper Hoard sites, in that case they'll be working more on that, right? That's a common thing, and that's why it is not that problematic. Rather, follow this pattern of identifying those like archaeologists and what are their specialization, and as per that you can easily like write their names. So that is the third important information that you should provide. And the last thing I'll say, that when it comes to description, that was the first thing what I had been trying to discuss. What is that? I told you that while writing the description, don't write only certain common features. Rather, you try to write the the utility or the significance of that particular site in multiple ways. Correct? और उसके अगर दूसरे features आप लिख सकते हैं, if you can literally write The other important features, as I told you, that they can be like itself the description of the site. So that, like, that is also very important, correct? And one more information, like, that's very important that you should try to incorporate here, that if any period, like, continues even in the next period or continues from the previous period, in that case this information must be provided, right? Such as if there was an like a Paleolithic site, and the description has been given in this way, write about that Paleolithic site. So you know that this is a Paleolithic site, but then you also know that this even continued till the Neolithic times. In that case, the continuity should be definitely provided. This site remained habited from the Paleolithic to the Neolithic times. Now that is very important. Or Chalcolithic times, or like, if you have been writing about any Harappan site, in that case, if that particular site started from the early Harappa and then goes up to the, like, mature Harappa or the late Harappa, you should write about it, right? So that continuity wala part is also very important, and you should try to incorporate them in your, like, description, right? Now the next thing that you should keep in mind for the map, don't invest much of your energy into, like, drawing lines and all when there was no indications being provided to you, when there was no, let's say, like, there was no lines, or there was no geographical features, no rivers were being provided, because at one point of time they had been providing the rivers, then they stopped providing the rivers, they started giving you the blank map, except this line of this Tropic of Cancer. They were not providing anything. Like right now they have started providing you the boundaries of the states, and I think now it became quite easy for you to identify the sites as per the boundaries, and that's how made this boundaries as the, like, as your indicator. And this is how stop, or let's say avoid drawing the lines, because I have noticed some of the people are still preparing that map section by drawing the line. Sometimes you go for a very traditional sort of thing है, क्यों? बाबा आदम के जमाने से चली आ रही है कि लाइंस ड्रॉ करके मैप अच्छे से बनता है यार, एक्चुअली, like, frankly speaking, instead of sorry, in except in couple of areas, such as I have already told you that this area is there, this area is there, there is, like, there's no such need of drawing the line, and that's how avoid this line drawing, right? And then focus more on, like, try to cover it, try to recall it through this state boundaries, or with the help of state boundaries only, right? One more thing I'll say, that when you have been covering this maps, when you have been practicing this map, so develop this habit of, like, googling it. अगर आप Google करते हैं, so this is like, or there is a pictorial memory that also remains in your, like, ये. And whenever you have been, like, doing something, or you have been trying to find something or search something, it is quite obvious that it is going to retain in your mind for a longer period of time. That is also a good thing that you should include in your practice. And that is the reason, because of what exactly I have done. Like, if you'll go to our Google, sorry, map material, in that case it is digital, right? And what I have done, that in this digital map, basically there is a digital map. Digital map matlab, it is a Google map. You can enlarge it, you can shorten it, right? Whatever you want to do, like, you can do it. And in fact, like, topic wise I have given, let's say Chalcolithic site. So in a Google map I have located them sites. Now there are a couple of benefits of it. First benefit, that, like, the location of sites are perfect, like nobody can raise the questions that this is wrongly located. That's number one. The second thing, which is again very important, and what is that? That is about, basically, that when you go for these sites, there is no description is, like, given over here, right? There is simply a pointer, like this kind of pointers you'll find. Now you know that these are Chalcolithic sites. What you are supposed to do, like, first, by seeing this site, try to identify that what site it is. Well, like, and then if you remember the site, okay, this is this site, the moment you'll take the pointer over here, so the pop-up will come up, and in this pop-up, every description, what I told you, that which are, like, considered to be the necessary information, now you can find those information over here. So basically, I believe that this kind of digital map is the best material to practice on map area. Why? Because, like, the moment you open the map, so what happens when you see continuously keep on seeing something, in that case you are not able to recall. But in this digital map, what happens, like, what I am providing, like, to my students, that you find a blank map, only the point sites are there, so you get a practice. And why, like, am I telling you about this? Because practice is very important. If you'll keep on seeing something and you'll practice less, in that case, like, you won't be able to perform very good. That's the, like, that's simply, or this is, like, humanly, this is the reality. And that's why you should change your habit of covering this particular part. Like, don't see it in the, like, on paper, or, like, don't do it on some, like, paper sort of thing. Rather, you just, like, go for these kind of maps. Okay, in that case, that would be quite helpful. So if you have been keeping in mind these kind of few things, frankly speaking, it is easy to score. Yet like somewhere around 40 marks. And then if you have been scoring around 40 marks, frankly speaking, nothing else you require. That's all about this map section, right? So I believe that if you follow these kind of things, that would be quite helpful for you. And then whatever the target or whatever the marks that you have been chasing, it's possible for you to get, right? That's all about map area. And in fact, there's nothing much to be discussed in the map area. So this is how we are just done with most of the things, right? So in one lecture I tried to cover ancient, then medieval, then modern, and then world. And finally, this is the last session where we have been discussing about this map area. Fine. So I just tried to pass on certain information to you, and I have already told you that hardly matters that whether you want to go for any classes or you do not want to go for any classes. I have just given you a sort of like an outline, and then if you keep yourself confined within this outline and you keep your approach towards the same thing what I have discussed, in that case probably it is not very tough to reach somewhere closer to 300. And in the present scenario, if you score somewhere around 270, 275 plus, that is considered to be a very decent score. And definitely if you cross 300, if you cross 275, you are not out because of the optional. In fact, for that matter, I should say, if you have crossed 250 or 260, you are not out because of that. But if you cross 275 to 80, in that case, your rank is also being secured because of this mark. So follow the right approach, right? So come out from those traditional sort of thing, because if you'll keep on following that traditional approach, frankly speaking, I can give you in written somewhere that you won't be able to score to more than 220, 230, because history is not just merely the compilation of facts. History is not something which is very static, rather it is also evolving, it is changing. And most importantly, the demand of UPSC is changing, and at the same time the new people, like those who are coming to frame the questions, those who are going to evaluate the paper, their expectations have also changed. So you also need to change your preparation as per that. So if you have been keeping all these kind of things in your mind, that's sufficient enough to cope up with this particular subject. So I believe that this session, these sessions, in fact, I would say was useful. So in the last class also I had been saying that if you want to connect with me, in that case, this is my link of Telegram channel. And you can definitely connect to me and you can ask the questions, whether you are part of any program or not, hardly matters. If you really wish to connect to me directly, in that case, this is the channel through which you can connect to me directly. Okay. So thank you all for joining us for this session. I believe that this was useful for you. Thank you very much.